Hey folks, this is Vince with Ads Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Flip City, a game for 1 to 4 players for ages 8 and up, with the average play time being between 30 and 50 minutes. So this game is a deck builder with a city building theme. And I'll get into why that bothers me a little bit at the end of the video, but for now, just keep in the back of your mind that the goal of this game is to lay out so many victory points in one turn before you go bust. Yes, there's a push your luck mechanic in this game too. Like I said, a lot of things going on with this game, but I'll reserve that for the end of the video. For now, let's just take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Alright, so as far as your components are concerned, the game simply consists of some cards. They're double-sided, and there's a total of 12 buildings in the game. For example, you've got this residential area here, and on the flip side is your apartment. The convenience store card on the flip side of that is the shopping mall. Now, this office deck here is completely optional, and first-time players may not want to include this. I mean, they can if they want to, but to keep things simple, you may want to stick with the 5 standard ones here. Again, the office deck is just an extra. So on these particular cards, let's take a look at the hospital. The cost of buying the card is in the upper right-hand corner here. The cost of flipping the card, which I'll get to in a little bit, is listed here. You've got an unhappiness symbol here, the amount of money that this particular card gives you on that particular turn here, and you've also got some special effects down here. And a lot of cards are built around similar themes. As far as setting up the game, what you'll want to do is take the cards and organize them into separate stacks, front side up. Now, what's front side up if they're double-sided? Well, these cards will have a little purple arrow in the bottom right-hand corner here. That will tell you what side is front and which side is back, with the exception of the residential area card. There's a purple arrow here and a purple arrow here on the apartment side, but just remember that the residential area is the front side up. So what you're going to do is you're going to use so many cards for the supply, and the instruction manual will tell you 12 of this type, 10 of this type, 12 of this type, 8 of this type, and so on and so forth. Each player also starts with a deck of cards. Again, this is a deck builder, and the general premise of a deck builder is that you get a preset number of cards of a certain card type, and then you'll be using said cards to purchase more from the supply. And in this game, you start with 4 of these residential zones. You'll start with 1 apartment, which is the flip side of this. You'll start with a convenience store, which is this, factory, 1 hospital, and 1 central park. So once you have the cards that you need, what you're going to want to do is shuffle them up. Now here's a quick word about shuffling in this game. Because these cards are double-sided, it's very easy to accidentally flip them over. Try your very best not to flip the cards over to the other side whenever you're shuffling your deck for the first time, or if you're shuffling the discard pile to use it as your new deck. Because once again, this is a deck builder, so you're going to have to keep using your discard pile to form your new deck throughout the game. Another quick thing to mention about shuffling, you want to look away from your deck while you're shuffling, because it wouldn't be fair to stop shuffling when you see a card you like on the very top. So 2 things to note. Be careful of accidentally flipping cards, and be careful and look away from the deck while you're shuffling, just to keep everything fair. Okay, so the game is broken up over a series of turns, and on a player's turn there are 2 phases, the play cards phase and the building phase, though it's very possible that players will never get to the building phase if they bust during the play cards phase. Again, there's a push your luck element to this game too, and that manifests itself with these red unhappiness symbols on these cards. So what you're going to want to do on the play cards phase is you're going to draw from the top of your deck, okay? Now, the player at that point will have a choice to make. Do you want to keep going and draw more cards, or do you want to stop and move on to the building phase voluntarily? it's very possible that you'll be forced to draw some cards. Like there's these residential area cards in the deck with this special ability. When residential area is on the top of your deck, you must play it. So there are instances where you might bust, obviously non-voluntarily. So right now we've gone ahead and drawn this apartment card. There is one unhappy face here, so we've already got one strike against us. When you see 3 here in your row as you're drawing them, then you bust and the next player gets to go and you don't even get to build anything. So this player is going to decide, okay, do I want to keep going with this convenience store, or do I want to stop and just simply use this apartment to possibly buy something? So he's going to go ahead and keep going. He's going to go ahead and draw this convenience store. Luckily, there's no residential area card here forcing him to draw anything. So now he has another choice to make. Do I keep going or do I stop? Well, he decides to keep going. He's going to draw this factory. He has a residential area on top, so he has to draw that. And there is a hospital on the top of this deck. Now, this has an unhappy face. He's already got 1 and 2 here. So by drawing this card, he would bust. Luckily, the hospital, you're not forced to draw that card. So he's going to be like, okay, no, I'm not going to draw that card, obviously. So I'm going to stick with what I have and move on to the build phase. One final thing to note about the play cards phase. You'll be able to recycle during this phase at any point. And recycling simply means that whenever you see this little green arrow here on the bottom right hand corner, this means that the building can be recycled. And basically, at any point, you can look through your discard pile, which you'll have after your first turn, and if you see a building that can be recycled, you'll simply flip it over, and you'll be able to gain its effects temporarily for that turn only for extra cash, or whatever the case may be. Alright, so next we move on to the build phase, and this is where players can buy from the supply, flip something in their discard pile, or develop. Now, to buy something from the supply, all you'll do is take a look at the amount of money that you have here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this player can buy something up to 5. But you can only buy once unless another card says you can buy more than once. So the cost of a card is in the upper right hand corner. So this player can spend 5. He could do a convenience store for 2, hospital for 4, a factory for 5. The Central Park is too expensive. That has a cost of 7. So to buy a card, you simply take it from the supply and put it into your discard pile. And again, once your deck runs out, you'll shuffle your discard pile, use that as your new deck. So the cards that you buy throughout the game will be seen again at some point. Now, you can also flip cards. If you have cards in your discard pile, what you'll want to do is you'll just simply pay the cost to flip it. Now, this isn't in the discard pile, but just to quickly show you, there's a little cost in the bottom right-hand corner next to this purple arrow, and that means that it can be flipped for that amount. So if this card were in the discard pile like this, he would simply pay the 4 money or coin, whatever it is that he needs. He's got 5 here to simply flip it over, and then again, at some point in the future, he'll be able to add this back into his deck via shuffling. The third and final thing a player can do is develop, and that simply means that they can buy a card and flip it. But not only do you have to pay the cost in the upper right-hand corner, but you have to pay the cost listed to flip it. So, for example, you've got this convenience store here. The cost to buy the card is 2. The cost to flip the card is 3. That's 5. He's got 5 here. So he could technically go ahead and just develop this. He'll take it, flip it, and put it into his discard pile like so. Okay, so you're probably wondering, okay, I'm building up my deck. Why am I building up my deck? Well, the goal of this game is to earn 8 or more victory points during one turn. At the bottom left-hand corner of some of these cards, instead of seeing money, you'll see like victory points here, and I can see if I can show you real quick. Yeah, there's 3 of them right here. And the idea is to get 8 out without busting. Now, if you do happen to bust, even though you have 8 or more victory point symbols out, you do not win the game. So you have to stop voluntarily while having 8 victory points out on the table. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, and the next card in his apartment, so you're not forced to draw that. This player has 1, 2 unhappiness symbols, not 3. So technically, they can stop and win the game. The other victory condition is this convenience store, the special ability of that one. If you play 18 or more cards this turn, you win. Kind of difficult to do, but it is possible. Alright, so there you have it, a very brief look at Flip City. It's worth mentioning that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you could see how the game was played. As far as what I thought, and I did promise that I'd cover this, the game isn't bad. I like the idea, but there's just a few things that annoy me. For one, this has a city theme. Every other city game that I have in my collection, Suburbia, Sunrise City, even the video games, Sim City, just any type of city builder, you start with very little, and then by the end of it you have a huge city that you yourself have created. You can actually see the fruits of your labor while you're developing this city. In this game, the fruits of my labor is sitting in my discard pile, only to be used again. So it's like, is it a city builder? Is it not a city builder? I don't think it is a city builder. And to be fair, I don't think the game advertises itself as it just says a deceptively simple micro deck builder. So I guess if you look at this game as a deck builder first and not a city builder first, I think you can get past the whole, well, how come I'm not seeing any progress with my city like I normally do with games like SimCity? I think you'll be much better off that way. Another gripe of mine is the fact that the cards are double-sided. I get why they did it, the whole recycling thing and having the cards mean different things, but I honestly think that the cards could have been separated into separate, with a card back, and you don't need to have these double-sided. If you want to flip one, or quote-unquote flip one, then you can just simply put the card that you're looking to replace back into the supply, and then take the upgrade to that card, or the flip side, in this game, into your discard pile. So, honestly, that way you don't have to worry about not looking while you're shuffling and accidentally eyeing. You know, if you're playing with someone like kids that, sometimes cheat, or even adults that cheat, you know there may be the risk of them, okay, I'm going to start with that power plant, or whatever the case may be. So there's that to consider, and there's also the risk of accidentally, if you've got kids or adults that have just butterfingers and accidentally drop cards all the time, and they don't remember what side the card was on whenever it was in their deck to begin with, that can also lead to some problems. So again, this isn't a bad game. I like the idea behind it, but just the whole double-sided card thing is a little inconvenient for a number of reasons. And again, it's one of the first city games that I've seen that don't grow. The board or the play area doesn't grow as you play. Again, all of it sits in your discard pile. So besides that, it's not a bad game, I think. Great filler game, great for families. So if you like what you see here, I do have a full review, by the way, on my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. Go check that out after you're done here. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.